there are some terrible people being met with awful news themselves, and that includes those in the Trump administration, specifically JD Vance, who got what I might consider almost career-ending news from Donald Trump today with a new announcement that has thrown him under the bus in the most delicious way. So if you have been upset with how bad the news has been, be excited because JD just got some himself.
Trump just pulled a major power play, and it involves tossing his loyal sidekick JD Vance straight under the bus. Yep, you read that right. In a twist that's sure to shake up the MAGA universe, Trump has officially distanced himself from Vance, leaving him to navigate the political storm solo. Is this the downfall of Vance's political ascent, or just the latest plot twist in Trump's ongoing political drama? Either way, buckle up. This ride's about to get even crazier.
According to new reports, the Trump administration is considering forming a task force to look into the potential impact of the tariffs that they have put on China and, of course, the tariff that China has put on us. In other words, Donald Trump wants to make sure that any of the ramifications of his trade war fall on somebody else. And that somebody else, according to these reports, is going to be JD Vance.
But before we dive deeper, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe, because trust me, you do not want to miss this. Donald Trump, the unapologetic political savage, is once again flipping the script on betrayal, and this time, the spotlight's on JD Vance. Picture this: Vance, arms flailing like a dazed extra in a Tarantino flick, watching as Trump rewrites the manual on political backstabbing in real time. Yep, that JD Vance, the guy who once trashed Trump with the fury of 1,000 suns, only to end up as his ride-or-die running mate. But if there's one thing Trump excels at, it's turning former enemies into devoted followers. Right. Up until it's time to toss them under the nearest metaphorical bus.
We need a little bit of tariff context from two ridiculous things Donald Trump said today.
Mexico, Canada, they live off of those two. Without us, they wouldn't have a country. And everybody wants a peace. And at a certain point, if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a limit. We'll set a tariff, we'll set some parameters, and we'll say, come in and shop. They may not like that, and they may find it, or the market may find it too high, you know.
And right on cue, here comes Trump, hurling JD Vance into the political meat grinder with all the flair of a reality show elimination, dramatic pause and all. How, you ask? By rolling out a fresh wave of tariffs, and not just your run-of-the-mill tariffs. No, these are the kind that could bring CEOs to tears, crush small businesses, and send everyday Americans into full-on wallet-clutching panic. And who's going to be left holding the bag for these economic gut punches? You guessed it, our guy JD Vance.
A single shipyard in China now produces more ships every year than all of the American shipyards combined. Think of that. And it was a business that we used to dominate. We used to dominate it totally. In short, chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem. They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life. It's a very great threat to our country. And for these reasons, starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations.
The Trump administration not only is considering forming this task force, but they are going to, if it comes to fruition, put Vice President JD Vance in charge of it and effectively make him what they're calling the tariff czar.
Let's be real for a second. When Trump dropped his big tariff announcement, he didn't just unveil a new policy. He pulled the pin on a political grenade, chucked it straight at JD Vance, and bolted for the nearest exit like it was all part of the plan. And the timing, brutal. JD Vance, in all his infinite political calculation, had just finished cozying up to Trump, acting like all that past Trump bashing was just a youthful indiscretion, a fleeting phase he now deeply regrets in the darkest corners of his soul.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally fundamentally it's based on two principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is.
But here's the kicker. JD Vance has now been handed the unenviable task of defending these tariffs like he's some kind of economic savior. It's like being asked to clean up a mess you didn't make and then smile while doing it. These tariffs? The kind that could send shockwaves through the economy? Yeah, JD, you're now the proud poster boy for that disaster. Good luck spinning that one to the voters. Should be a blast.
67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff.
You've got to hand it to Trump. When it comes to turning chaos into a full-blown spectacle, the man's a pro. And this time, the center ring attraction is none other than JD Vance, forced to stand under the spotlight and sell a ticking time bomb of a policy with a straight face. He's out there trying to hype up tariffs that are practically designed to implode. And when they do, he'll be the punchline for both the left and the right. Because if there's one thing Trump's mastered, it's making sure someone else takes the fall when his grand plans go sideways. Now, let's talk about this tariff disaster for a second. The basic idea behind tariffs: slap a tax on foreign goods to make them pricier, so Americans buy domestic instead. Sounds simple, until you realize American manufacturers don't have nearly enough capacity to handle that surge in demand. So who gets front row seats to the economic fallout? You guessed it, JD Vance, watching the whole thing buckle and burn while pretending it's all going according to plan.
Warned that Trump's tariffs could bring inflation down and could bring greater inflation and slow economic growth. He didn't use the exact word, but what he was describing is stagflation. Investopedia defines stagflation as an economic condition characterized by slowing economic growth, high unemployment, and rising prices or inflation simultaneously. It's a 1, 2, 3 punch, although at least for now we continue to have low unemployment. But inflation and a recession, which then results in higher unemployment, at the same time, that's very...
And here's what's truly hilarious. Trump probably didn't even give the fallout a second thought. He's up in his golden tower, tossing out policy like a 19th century monarch issuing royal decrees, totally detached from the chaos he's unleashing. Meanwhile, JD Vance is down in the trenches, sweating bullets, trying to defend this economic train wreck with a straight face, praying it doesn't torpedo his political future in the process. It's like watching someone try to put out a fire with a thimble of water, all while pretending everything's fine.
My biggest problem with Trump, I mean, and there are many, many things to pick out, but my biggest problem with Trump is that his message to the right, especially the white working class of which I came from, is anti-conservative and in some ways anti-American. It's fundamentally that the deck is so stacked against you that unless I'm the president, nothing that you do will change your life's outcomes. I think it's wrong, and I think it's very self-destructive.
Let's not forget, just a few years ago, JD Vance was out here roasting Trump like he was hosting the political version of Comedy Central's Burnfest. He built a name for himself, trashing Trump's economic policies, calling them a full-blown disaster. And he didn't stop there. Vance made it crystal clear that he saw Trump as nothing more than a self-absorbed, egomaniacal failure who couldn't lead his way out of a paper bag. His takedowns were so intense they could have dimmed the sun, throwing shade that made a solar eclipse look like a flickering birthday candle. But then, plot twist, JD didn't double down. Nope, he did a full-blown 180 that would make a Hollywood scriptwriter say, nah, too unrealistic. Instead of standing his ground, he hopped aboard the Trump train and rode it all the way to the VP slot. And now, well, JD's about to learn the hard way that jumping on a sinking ship doesn't make you the captain. It just gets you a front row seat in first class as it goes down. Good luck, buddy. You're gonna need it.
And so one of the takeaways is not just that the Republican Party base is somehow fundamentally flawed in a way that's unique in American political history. It's that Trump is a really bad candidate and, frankly, I think a really bad person. Trump, because I think that he's projecting very complex problems onto simple villains.
Fast forward to 2024.
I don't hide from that. I was certainly skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016, but President Trump was a great president, and he changed my mind. I think he changed the minds of a lot.
It's almost poetic when you think about it. JD Vance, the guy who carved out his political identity by dragging Trump through the mud, spent years torching the former president in public, branding himself as the anti-Trump rebel within the GOP. He wasn't just another voice in the crowd. He was the guy taking aim at everything Trump represented, mocking him as the poster child for everything broken in the Republican machine. But then, plot twist, when the Trump train came rolling in, Vance didn't just step aside, he jumped on board like it was his golden ticket to the big leagues. Forget principles. Vance saw the fast track to power and thought, why stand on morals when I can ride this gravy train all the way to the top? And now he's sitting front and center watching the fallout from Trump's ridiculous tariff blunder unfold in real time. It's almost like the universe decided to serve up a steaming plate of karma. Because let's be real, you can't spend years publicly trashing someone, then become their biggest cheerleader without eventually getting caught in the blast radius of their chaos. Looks like JD Vance's political gymnastics are finally catching up to him. And honestly, it's hard not to sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the spectacle.
Displays the incompetence and corruption that is at play here. Now we know the corruption. We're actually going to talk with one of the best Democrats in Congress about that later in this video, so please stick around for that. But the incompetence is clear. Donald Trump doesn't know what the end goal of his tariff plan is. He doesn't know if it's bringing manufacturing back, which isn't going to happen because he lost manufacturing jobs in his first administration.
Trump, of course, isn't about to let JD Vance off the hook. Taking responsibility? That's never been Trump's style, especially when a policy goes down in flames with maximum spectacle. No, he'll sit back, arms crossed, watching the fallout, like it's primetime TV, while JD Vance is left shouldering the mess like some poor sap stuck cleaning up after a party he wasn't even invited to. And that's the real Trump playbook, isn't it? He has this uncanny talent for whipping up chaos, then stepping aside just in time to let someone else fumble through the wreckage. These tariffs, they're already dragging the economy through the mud, but it's Vance who'll be sent out to face the cameras and explain why everything's unraveling. If JD Vance thought hitching himself to Trump was his express ride to political glory, he's about to learn the hard way that it's actually a one-way ticket to a full-blown disaster.
President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have $2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
And now JD Vance is left holding the bag, stuck with whatever scraps Trump decided to throw his way. Trump's abandonment? As predictable as a bad reality show finale. The plot twist nobody saw coming, but really, everyone should have. Enjoy the ride, JD, because things are about to get a whole lot worse. Buckle up, because with Trump, you're never the hero of the story, just another chapter in an endless train wreck.